Imagine you're sitting in a doctor's office and you're told your chances of a successful pregnancy are hovering around like 33%.
Right, which is an incredibly tough thing to hear.
Oh, absolutely. But now imagine doubling that chance. And not with, some million-dollar experimental laser or a controversial new synthetic hormone, but with, get this, customized herbs and ancient acupuncture protocols.
Yeah, it definitely sounds counterintuitive, to our modern sensibilities. We're deeply conditioned to believe that the most effective medical solutions are always the newest, most mechanical interventions available.
Exactly. We expect this very linear process. You find a mechanical issue, you apply a mechanical fix.
Right.
But today's deep dive is all about what happens when that linear approach falls short. We're looking at just a fascinating stack of clinical data, meta-analyses, and medical histories to explore a profoundly different approach to reproductive health.
And it really is a paradigm shift.
It is. Our mission today is to investigate the measurable biological impact of seamlessly integrating customized herbal medicine and targeted acupuncture directly with conventional fertility treatments.
And this is a crucial distinction for you listening. Our focus today is not some debate between Eastern and Western medicine.
It's not an either-or situation.
Exactly. We aren't analyzing alternative therapies meant to just, replace conventional treatments. We're looking at the synergy. How do two entirely different paradigms integrate to produce statistically significant outcomes for people trying to build a family?
Okay, well, let's unpack this, because I want to give you, the listener, a framework to hold on to as we get into the heavy biology here.
Good idea. The biology gets pretty dense.
Yeah, so navigating fertility is essentially like trying to grow a delicate garden in an incredibly unpredictable climate. Conventional Western treatments, things like IVF or intrauterine insemination, they provide the absolute best high-tech tools.
They're phenomenal tools.
Right. They provide the seeds, the exact planting schedule, the climate-controlled greenhouse. But the complementary medicine we're looking at today, that is entirely focused on the soil.
The soil, I love that analogy.
Thanks. It's the systemic, foundational environment of the body. Because you can have the most perfect, genetically sound seeds in the world, but if your soil is depleted or, toxic or completely lacking water...
Nothing is going to take root.
Exactly.
Nothing grows. That framing is so essential because for decades, fertility treatment was almost completely obsessed with the seed, the egg, the sperm, the embryo.
Just the pieces.
Right. The working assumption was that if we mechanically force the right pieces together in a lab, biology will just instinctively take over.
But it doesn't always work that way.
No, it doesn't. And the clinical shift we're analyzing today acknowledges that you cannot ignore the soil. You have to treat the systemic health, the microcirculation, and the inflammatory markers of the entire human ecosystem.
But to really grasp how this integrative approach gained a foothold in the U.S., we kind of have to look at how it started. Because it didn't begin in, like, a sterile research lab with a massive corporate grant.
No, it rarely does, honestly.
Right. It started with a deeply personal catalyst.
Which is such a common thread in medical innovation. Some of the most significant clinical shifts are born out of intense personal frustration and necessity.
Precisely. The data we're reviewing highlights the origin of the Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness, which is located in New York City. The founder, Mike Berkeley, and his wife, Nancy, were in the thick of this grueling fertility struggle years ago.
It's an incredibly stressful place to be.
Yeah, and they were dealing with male factor fertility issues, specifically poor sperm parameters and a condition involving anti-sperm antibodies.
Oh, wow. Yeah, anti-sperm antibodies are, they're incredibly difficult to navigate. Essentially, it's an immune system misfire.
Like an autoimmune response?
Exactly like that. The body mistakenly identifies sperm as a hostile foreign invader, similar to a virus. So the immune system generates antibodies that physically attach themselves to the sperm.
That sounds intense.
It is. It's like tying microscopic weights to them. It impedes their movement and damages their structural integrity, making fertilization almost impossible. It's basically friendly fire on a cellular level.
Friendly fire. Wow, that sounds completely demoralized.
Absolutely.
So, facing that kind of diagnosis, they felt like they'd exhausted their conventional options. So they pivoted. They turned to acupuncture and highly customized herbal medicine.
And this is where the story shifts.
Right, because within just 3 months of starting this systemic approach, Nancy became pregnant.
3 months, that's remarkable.
Yeah, and their child is actually a grown man in his 30s now.
A profound shift for their family, obviously.
So profound that Mike dropped his entire previous career.
Really? Just walked away.
just walked away.
Huh.
He completely started over, enrolled at the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, earned his degree in acupuncture, secured his national board certification in herbal medicine, and then opened the Berkeley Center in 1997.
Wow.
Yeah, he became the first acupuncturist in the U.S. to specialize exclusively in reproductive wellness.
That exclusivity, I mean, it really cannot be overstated. He wasn't running a general wellness clinic, treating back pain in the morning and fertility in the afternoon.
A jack of all trades kind of thing.
Exactly. He dedicated his entire clinical focus to the reproductive ecosystem.
But, okay, hold on. I have to push back here because if you're looking at this objectively, there is a glaring question.
I think I know where you're going with this.
He dropped his whole career and founded a completely new clinical specialty based on a sample size of exactly one. I mean, spontaneous pregnancies happen all the time. How do you go from this worked for my wife to building a standardized clinic? Isn't that just massive survivorship bias?
That's a very fair point.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is the distinction between the inspiration and the methodology.
Okay.
The personal anecdote was simply the spark. It gave him the direction. But the fire, the actual execution of his clinic, that was rooted in rigorous, specialized education and empirical data. He didn't just open a storefront and hand out the exact same herbs his wife took to every person who walked in.
Okay, so he wasn't just relying on his personal success story.
Not at all. He actively merged the two paradigms. When he built the clinic, he designed it to utilize modern Western medical testing.
Like what kind of testing?
Blood panels, hormonal assays, detailed semen analyses, and then he applied Eastern modalities to specifically treat those quantified imbalances. He translated his personal empathy into a measurable, integrative standard of care.
That is a crucial bridge. It's not just guessing, it's using Western diagnostics to guide Eastern therapies.
Precise.
But that brings us to the core of the issue. We need to look at the actual biological mechanisms. When someone walks into a clinic utilizing this integrative model, what is physically happening at the cellular level? Because the clinical literature makes it very clear that this is definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, it requires an entirely different mindset than what we're used to. In Western culture, we're very accustomed to the magic bullet.
Right. You have a headache, you take an ibuprofen.
Exactly. It's standardized.
Yeah, if you walk down the supplement aisle at a pharmacy, you see a bottle just labeled fertility support, and it's the exact same pill, whether you're 25 or 42.
Yeah.
It's the same pill whether you're dealing with PCOS, which is a metabolic and hormonal roadblock that disrupts ovulation, or endometriosis, which involves rogue tissue and massive inflammation.
Which are two fundamentally different environments.
Right. But customized herbal medicine operates on a completely different logic.
It is deeply individualized.
It's a lot like calibrating a complex engine. You don't just pour a generic gallon of oil over the whole thing and hope it runs better.
Right, that would be a disaster.
You have to adjust the specific fuel-to-air ratio for that exact car, considering its mileage, its environment, and how it's been driven. The herbal formulas are created only after assessing the patient's unique biological environment.
That engine calibration metaphor is perfect. Because in Eastern medicine, 10 different patients might present with the exact same Western diagnosis. Let's say diminished ovarian reserve.
Okay.
But the underlying systemic imbalances causing that diminished reserve might be entirely different for each person. One might have severe vascular constriction, while another might have an autoimmune inflammatory response.
So treating them the same wouldn't make sense.
Exactly. The customized herbal formula is designed to dismantle the unique underlying dysfunction, not just mask the blanket diagnosis.
Okay, let's get into the micromechanisms of how that dysfunction is dismantled. The data outlines a trio of specific biological benefits: egg quality, uterine lining, and sperm quality. Let's start with the eggs. How do herbs actually improve a human egg? The literature constantly brings up increasing blood flow to the ovaries.
To understand why blood flow is paramount, you really have to think about what an egg needs to mature.
Okay, what does it need?
Maturing an egg requires a massive amount of cellular energy, specifically a molecule called ATP. Blood is the delivery system for the oxygen and nutrients required to create that energy.
So more blood flow equals more energy.
Right. By specifically increasing microcirculation to the ovaries, the herbal formulas are basically flooding the developing follicles with the resources they need to generate robust, healthy eggs.
And it isn't just about delivering the good stuff, right? It's also about clearing out the bad stuff.
Yeah.
The research heavily highlights the reduction of oxidative stress.
Yes, which is arguably the most critical protective mechanism. Oxidative stress is essentially biological rusting.
Biological rusting.
Yeah. At a cellular level, you have free radicals. These are unstable molecules that are missing an electron. So they violently steal electrons from healthy cells, causing compounding damage.
Like molecular thieves.
Exactly. And human eggs are exquisitely delicate and highly susceptible to this damage.
So the free radicals are basically vandalizing the eggs before they even have a chance to mature.
That's a great way to put it. And as we age, our natural defense mechanisms against these free radicals decline.
Oh, that makes sense.
So the customized herbal formulas act as profound antioxidants. They flood the system with molecules that willingly donate electrons to the free radicals, neutralizing them before they can damage the DNA inside the egg. You are actively preserving the genetic integrity of the egg.
Okay, so that perfectly explains the seed. But what about the soil, the uterine lining? The clinical data notes that even with a top-tier genetically normal embryo, a thin or hostile uterine lining will cause implantation to fail.
Right. The uterus requires a very specific vascular environment to sustain a pregnancy. It isn't just about the lining being, thick. It has to be receptive.
And how do herbs help with that?
Customized herbal formulas promote what we call angiogenesis, which is the formation of new, healthy capillary networks within the uterus.
Oh, it's literally building new biological infrastructure.
Yes. It increases the continuous blood flow, which encourages the endometrial lining to become nutrient-dense. The herbs specifically support the growth of healthy glandular tissue.
Wow.
So it transforms the uterus from a potentially hostile environment into a highly vascularized, welcoming ecosystem for an embryo to attach and thrive.
And we absolutely cannot ignore the male side of this equation, considering that is where this entire Berkeley Center story originated.
Very true.
The third biological pillar is boosting sperm quality. And this is fascinating because sperm biology is so unique.
It is. And, male factor infertility accounts for roughly half of all fertility struggles, yet it's so frequently sidelined in these conversations.
It really is. Now, when you look at the breakdown, customized formulas aim to improve sperm count, motility, which is their swimming ability, and morphology, their physical shape. But the most vital improvement seems to be the reduction of sperm DNA fragmentation.
Yes.
How exactly are herbs repairing fragmented DNA?
Well, it goes right back to that oxidative stress we discussed with the eggs, but sperm are even more vulnerable.
Really? Why is that?
To swim quickly, a sperm cell strips away almost all of its protective cytoplasm. It's essentially just an exposed payload of DNA with a highly active motor.
Oh, wow.
And that motor generates a lot of cellular exhaust free radicals. Because they lack robust internal defenses, those free radicals easily fracture the sperm's DNA.
So they're polluting their own environment.
Precisely. And if a sperm with fragmented DNA fertilizes an egg, the resulting embryo often fails to develop, which frequently leads to early miscarriage.
Oh, I see.
So the targeted herbal medicine specifically lowers the oxidative stress within the testicular microenvironment. It clears out that cellular exhaust, allowing the body to produce structurally sound sperm with completely intact, healthy DNA payloads.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the clinical protocol we're looking at doesn't rely on herbs alone.
Right.
The profound outcomes happen when these bespoke formulas are paired with fertility-specific acupuncture.
They are highly synergistic modalities. Acupuncture acts as the physical catalyst for the systemic changes the herbs are promoting.
But wait, how does a needle actually trigger a systemic change? It sounds so abstract.
I get that, but it's actually a very grounded neurological response.
Okay.
When an acupuncture needle is inserted at specific targeted points, it creates a microtrauma that communicates directly with the central nervous system, particularly the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve.
Yeah. This triggers a parasympathetic shift. It pulls the body out of fight or flight sympathetic dominance and shifts it into rest and digest.
Which is critical, right? Because if your body thinks it's running from a tiger, the absolute last thing it's going to prioritize is reproducing.
Exactly. Chronic stress spikes cortisol. And cortisol actively competes with and disrupts reproductive hormones like progesterone.
Oh, wow. So it literally blocks it.
Yes. By neurologically forcing the body to downregulate, acupuncture lowers that systemic stress response. Furthermore, these protocols are timed perfectly.
What do you mean timed perfectly?
They can be synced with the natural hormonal shifts of a menstrual cycle or meticulously timed to the exact sequence of an IVF timeline, like stimulating blood flow right before an egg retrieval.
So it's a highly choreographed biological intervention. It oxygenates the cells, neutralizes the rest, builds vascular infrastructure, and neurologically commands the body to feel safe enough to reproduce.
That's a per-6 summary.
It all makes complete physiological sense.
Well,
But if I'm listening to this, a part of me is still demanding proof. Theory is great, but does this actualize in large-scale, rigorous human trials?
And that is the ultimate filter. We cannot rely on biological plausibility alone. We need hard, quantifiable evidence.
Well, the evidence in this stack of research is staggering. The most prominent piece of data is a 2015 meta-analysis conducted by Kay Reed. It was published in the journal Complementary Therapies in Medicine.
Very respected journal.
Yeah, and we have to emphasize the scale here, because this wasn't a localized study with 30 people. This meta-analysis reviewed 40 separate randomized controlled trials involving over 4,200 women.
That scale is paramount.
It really is.
When you're looking at over 4,000 participants across 40 randomized controlled environments, you effectively eliminate the placebo effect. You control for anomalous variables. It provides a level of statistical power that is just undeniable in the medical community.
And the results of that immense data set, they found that integrating traditional Chinese herbal medicine improved pregnancy rates approximately twofold compared to utilizing Western medical treatment entirely on its own.
Twofold, that's massive.
We are looking at mean clinical pregnancy rates jumping from 33% with isolated Western treatment, surging to 60% when integrated with the customized herbal medicine.
Going from a 1 in 3 chance to well over a 1 in 2 chance? In the realm of reproductive endocrinology, a near doubling of the clinical pregnancy rate is an earth-shattering outcome.
And it's corroborated on the male side as well. The data includes a 2024 study published in Frontiers in Endocrinology, which proved that these tailored formulas significantly improve those exact semen parameters we discussed.
The count, motility, and the DNA integrity.
Right, and it proved it does this by demonstrably enhancing the testicular microcirculation.
So the empirical data overwhelmingly validates the biological theory for both the seed and the soil.
It does. But honestly, this data makes me incredibly frustrated.
How so?
Because if a complementary treatment protocol has the proven statistical power to take pregnancy rates from 33% to 60%, why isn't this the immediate default standard of care in every single fertility clinic in the world? Why is this still culturally compartmentalized as an alternative add-on rather than an essential first step?
It's a great question. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals a deeply entrenched paradigm clash.
A paradigm clash.
Yeah. Western medicine, by its very design and institutional training, hyper-focuses on the localized and the mechanical.
Right, the pieces.
In the context of fertility, that means retrieving eggs, evaluating them under a microscope, physically injecting a single sperm into an egg, and mechanically transferring an embryo. That technology is brilliant. It is nothing short of miraculous.
It is the absolute pinnacle of mechanical intervention.
Yes. But because the entire system is built to measure and value mechanical interventions, it inherently struggles to quantify or prioritize holistic systemic therapies.
Ah, I see.
Eastern medicine fundamentally views the body as an interconnected web. It asserts that you cannot treat the ovaries or the testes without simultaneously addressing the liver, the vascular system, and the central nervous system.
But the 2015 meta-analysis bridges that exact gap. It takes that ancient systemic philosophy and proves it out using the gold standard of Western data.
Exactly.
It proves that preparing the soil isn't just, a relaxing spa treatment to make you feel less anxious during IVF. It is a biological necessity that physically alters microcirculation and cellular health to a point where pregnancy rates practically double.
And that is exactly the visionary leap Mike Berkeley made decades ago. He recognized that patients shouldn't be forced into a false dichotomy.
You don't have to choose.
Right. You do not have to choose between the high-tech Western laboratory and the profound systemic care of Eastern medicine. By demanding an integrative approach, you equip the patient with the absolute best of both paradigms.
So what does this all mean for you listening? If you're in the thick of a fertility journey right now, if you're feeling entirely overwhelmed, dealing with unexplained infertility, thin uterine linings, or fragmented sperm DNA, and you feel like you have exhausted your options, the most important takeaway from this deep dive is that you haven't.
There's still hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
The clinical data clearly demonstrates that integrating personalized, bespoke herbal medicine and targeted acupuncture with your conventional treatments can fundamentally optimize your biological ecosystem.
It allows you to reclaim your agency. You're no longer just passively waiting for a mechanical fix. You are actively, scientifically conditioning your entire cellular environment to thrive.
It shifts the entire narrative.
Yeah.
You aren't just trying to force a broken machine to work. You're nurturing an ecosystem to do what it naturally wants to do.
This raises an important question, though.
Oh.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've spent this entire deep dive focused exclusively on reproductive health and creating new life. But think about the profound biological mechanisms we just explored. If customized, highly targeted herbal medicine can so effectively neutralize oxidative stress,
Yeah.
if it can drastically increase microvascular circulation and repair fragmented DNA within our reproductive organs, could these exact same personalized systemic approaches be the key to slowing down cellular aging and extending the health and function of all our vital organs as we age?
Oh, wow.
Right.
If we can scientifically heal the soil to grow new life, maybe we can use those exact same tools to keep our own gardens blooming for decades longer than we ever thought possible.
It's definitely something to think about.
That is a truly wild thought to end on. You have been listening to The Deep Dive. Until next time, take care of your ecosystem.